So we're entering a really uncertain future.
Yes.
But there's two things that I draw confidence and hope from. Firstly, there has never been a time in the history of this planet where the responsibility for the evolution of a species has been placed on the species itself, us.
Say that again.
The responsibility for the evolution of a species has been placed on the species itself. This is the first time it's ever happened.
Hello, Steve Judd. Welcome to Conversations with a Wounded Healer.
Hello, my pleasure to be here.
It is my pleasure to have you. You are someone that I just watched on a YouTube and I was like, I like this guy. I have no idea if he's going to want to talk to me, but I just reached out and was like, can we be friends and have you on my show? And you were like, hell yeah, let's do it.
You hit me on a good day.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I will have already read your bio for everyone, but do you want to sort of break down for folks who you are and what you're doing in the world?
My name is Steve Judd. I am a professional astrologer. I picked up my first astrological book in 1977. I started doing readings for people in 1981. Since 1999, doing readings for people has been my only source of income. I've done about 30 to 35,000 astrological readings in the last 48 years. I don't know anyone else who's done as many readings as me. And I don't have much time for most other astrologers because all they do is write books and lecture, but they don't do readings. And to me, doing readings is actually reaching out and helping people, which is what astrology should be. So I'm quite passionate in defense of astrology. I have a somewhat unique relationship with the empowering essence behind astrology. I'm an advocate for it in so many different ways. It is my life. I am very blessed.
Tell us about that unique relationship. My curiosity is piqued.
There's a point in the horoscope which many of your readers would have heard of but not know that much about. It's called the North Node. Okay. This came into Western astrology in the 1890s to 1900s. It was brought into Britain by Helena P. Blavatsky, the founder of a Theosophical Society, from her journeys in India. And she was studying Vedic astrology. And when she came back into Britain and reintroduced herself to Western astrology, she brought the North Node with it from the Hindu Vedic astrology. And with it, she brought the Hindu translation of the North Node, which deals with karma and reincarnation. And at that time, in India, 2% of the people owned 99% of the wealth. So the average person in the fields only had their begging bowl and their loincloth. So all they could hope was that if they were good this life, they'd have a better life next time. Now, I struggled with this for years. When I discovered the North Node, I thought, okay, so karma, So I don't do religion. I'm really anti-religion because I consider it a massive guilt trip and a con, to be honest. And I realized that the North Node was just another form of religious guilt trip. So instead of looking at the North Node in terms of karma, I instead chose to see the North Node as something to do with purpose, mission statement, and reason why you volunteered to come to planet Earth in the first place.
Yeah.
And when I realized that we actually volunteered to come to planet Earth, that made me realize that there is no such thing as death. It is just a transition of consciousness from one dimension to another. When I realized that, I realized then that if that's the case, there's life before physical birth and life after physical death. Therefore, the religious stuff that goes along with this is cancelled out. This made me then think, well, what's the bigger picture behind this? Astrology is the only one of the divinatory arts that is not based solely on intuition. It's a mixture of mathematics, geometry, psychology, and intuition. All other divinatory arts rely on the intuition of the reader, whereas astrology relies on mathematics and geometry as much as psychology and intuition. It's an equal mix. And I realized that when I really realized that the planets themselves emit a kind of energy that to me consists of them being alive in some shape or form, I translated from basic animism into panpsychism, where everything has a form of consciousness. And then
Mhm.
I realized that astrology is not an it,
Mm.
it's a she.
Mm.
And people don't find astrology. Astrology finds people.
I agree.
And when astrology found me, I realized it took me a long time, but I realized that astrology only finds those people that are willing to work with her and get her message into the world, because astrology has outlasted every religion, every empire, every political system. It's been around since humanity got off its knuckles on the East African plains and looked up at the sky and went, wow, oh, I can see patterns there.
Mhm.
It's survived everything to this comment to this day. And it gives us a completely objective, detached, and impersonal perspective, not only on our own lives and purpose, but on the world we live in. So to me, it's absolutely unique. It gives a unique perspective on our link with the divine, however we see the divine as being.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be alive if I didn't have astrology in my life today.
Mm.
So I cannot be objective about this. I'm absolutely gung ho in Anna's. I am a professional astrologer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
You don't have to be shy with me. I'm fully on board, and everything you said aligns with a lot of what I believe as well. So we are matched in that way. What is your north node?
Oh, Sagittarius in the fourth house. So it's very easy with my South Node in Gemini in the 10th house to go out there in public and speak.
Mhm.
Very easy. I do it for a living.
Mhm.
But to actually be committed to myself, to be the best I can at all times, is
Mhm.
a lifetime of work.
Yes.
To walk my own talk, to live my own philosophies and speak my own truth
Yes.
is a big one. And it is something I've struggled with all my life. And it's only as I've aged that I just thought, fuck it. You know, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said.
Yep.
And life is simple if you live like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Well, and I'm thinking about what gets in the way of people doing that. And what comes up for me initially is, shame of not being good enough or fear of being rejected.
Yeah.
Right. So I like, what did you need to do in order to transcend those pieces or whatever it was that sort of came up for you that was preventing you from telling the truth?
Well, first of all, I realized that I wanted to be a guilt free zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that when I'm talking to my clients, especially when I'm dealing with Chiron, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, look, you're never going to be good enough,
Yeah.
but you're always getting better. You're not being asked to be perfect, you're just being asked to do your very best. And the only person who can tell you what your best is you. You are judge, jury, and executioner. 98% is good enough, because if you had 100%, you'd have wings. So when I realized that um, if we were perfect, we wouldn't need to be here. So I'm just saying to people, like, just do your best. No one can judge you. If anyone says you're not doing that properly, you're not doing that well enough, you don't deserve, it's like, okay, fine. There's the door. You can leave. I'm doing my best. If that's not good enough for you, leave,
Mhm.
because I know I'm doing my best. And if you don't like it, hey, I'm responsible for my actions. I'm not responsible for your reactions. You
Well,
choose
and
to be upset. That's your problem.
yeah, there's a nuance to this that I think ties back to astrology too, because one thing that we're seeing with the TikTokification of mental health and astrology for that matter, and the Enneagram and any other personal tool for development is people using their astrology or using their whatever as an excuse to not try to grow. Right, right. So, like, I hear you I hear what you're saying, and I feel the same way if you are committed to being the best self you can be, but I hear a lot of people being like, "Well, I'm an Aquarius, so I'm just aloof, and so I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna be able to connect with you in the way that you want."
That goes along the lines of, oh, I'm an Aquarius. I don't feel anything. So I punch him on the nose and go, what hurts? Right.
I love that
Um,
you're, like, such a, like, astrologer.
okay. So anyone who uses their horoscope as an excuse is kind of writing their own manual for failure.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Right.
That's why no one can really use astrology for purely for making money or purely for ego or to become famous or anything like that, because she will withdraw her gifts. It's not about that.
Right.
It's about collective consciousness enhancement and expansion, and it's about getting everyone to realize that, yeah, one planet, 8 billion different worlds, but what is the point of borders?
Yeah.
We're all one species. If we're
Mhm.
going to have segregation, don't do it by nationality or race or gender. Do it by moon sign.
Ooh. I
I'm
don't know if
doing
I
an
wanna
event.
spend my life with other Aries moons though, so maybe not.
I've done a couple of events where I've had people coming in. I've put them all in their signs together, in their moon signs together, and it's hilarious because you get all the Aries and the Sagittarius moons. They're all going, yeah, I've got an Aries. Yeah, I'm a Sag moon. Yeah, okay, that's done. Okay, let's leave it. Let's get on with stuff now, and off they go. Whereas all the people with Scorpio moons get together and just watch everyone else. All the people with Cancer moons just stay there and talk about their mothers and their feelings and their emotions. And all the Virgo moons won't sit too close to each other in case there's too much body odor. You know, there's a lot of fun to be had with this, but sun sign compatibility is rubbish. I'm an Aquarius, you're a Virgo, we don't get on. Rubbish.
Right.
Whereas moon sign compatibility works. When
Mm,
I find two people in a
oh.
relationship who've got the moon in the same sign, then they dance around each other in the kitchen. They don't need to talk to each other so much because they know what each other's feeling and thinking. They have similar moods. They like similar foods, similar music and movies. It's similar. It's not the same. It's similar. It's easy when you're with someone with the moon in the same sign.
Hmm.
It makes life easier.
Interesting. Well, and now you're also 'cause I'm an Aquarius sun, my husband's a Leo sun, not supposed to get along. He's the most un-Leo Leo you've ever met in your life, though, but he's Sagittarius rising and Sagittarius moon, and I'm an Aries moon, Libra rising, so I wonder if that fire in our
Oh, that
moons.
works. Sagittarius
Mhm,
moon and Aries moon. That works great.
mhm,
I mean, I've got a
mhm,
Sagittarius moon as well. It doesn't make you subtle, tactful, or diplomatic, but it
mhm,
does make you honest
mhm,
and
mhm,
straightforward.
mhm.
And it gives you a good sense of humor as well.
Yeah. Wow. I'd love to get into one of the reasons I wanted to have you here is we are at a crisis point. Maybe you're not going to use the word crisis. I feel like we're at a crisis point in terms of humanity and where our consciousness is going, what is breaking down, all of this sort of stuff. And I mean, I've done a lot of research, listened to a lot of things around astrology about like what time we're in right now. I'd love for you to talk about that with the listeners, what you're seeing, and what we should. I don't know if it's what we should be preparing ourselves for, or like how we move through this time, how astrology can support us in being in this challenging time.
I can do that, but it might not be to your total liking because I can nutshell it,
Uh huh.
and a lot of people aren't going to like it. The
They don't
movement,
have to like it.
true. The movement of the outer planets at this time to the positions of accuracy that they're in has never happened before, ever
Hmm.
in the history of humanity.
Hmm.
It's not happened for at least 25,000 years,
Mhm.
at least. And this is a one-time situation that began building around 2 or 3 years ago and reaches peak no later than 2028.
Mhm.
It seems to me that we as a species are at the end of our apprenticeship.
Mm.
Now, when I was a child, there were 2.1 billion people when I was born on this planet. There's now 8.2. So population has quadrupled since I've been alive. Technology when I was a child was a Bakelite telephone on a wall with a dial that you could, if you were lucky, you didn't have to have a jack plug put in by an operator. Now we're streaming across the world. And spirituality, you got pick and mix, thousands of different spiritual options now, as opposed to me being dragged to Sunday school when I was 5 years old. Technology, spirituality, and population have all escalated on an escalatory graph curve as
Right.
opposed to a
That's
linear
true.
curve.
Yep.
And that escalatory curve is now approaching prime vertical. There's been a number of studies, particularly by Serena Roney Dougal, who's the first person in the world to get a PhD in parapsychology. And she wrote Where Science and Magic Meet, which is a major influence in my thinking.
Ooh, I'm gonna find
She
that.
suggested that at the bacterial, viral, atomic, and human level, there is a coadjuvant number that once that number is reached, a life form will either die of starvation or mutate into a multicellular organism, particularly in the case of viruses and bacteria, which requires less body space and less food. I'm not suggesting we're going to do that as a species,
Right.
but that number is 10 to the power of 10. That's 10 billion. Humanity is currently at the power of 10 to the power of 9.8, 8 billion.
Wow.
And we'll reach 10 billion within about 8 years, 9 years.
Hmm.
So it seems that we're going to hit that point, which you refer to as the narrow point of the hourglass or the birth canal. It's some type of nexus point of transcendence. And the astrological configurations at this time give us a timetable for this process. And I believe the actual crunch point is basically now, which is why I find it difficult. 20% of me finds it difficult to blame the evildoers in the world because I know they're actually fulfilling a function and they're driving the world into an increasingly dystopian world, which is almost necessary to accelerate this so that we get through this crisis faster than having it drag out over a long period of time. The thing is, we're heading either into dystopia or utopia, a breakdown or a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And as I said, the apprenticeship is over. And if we haven't turned this around by the end of 2028, then I suspect we will become extinct pretty quickly. There's only three ways this can go. We can either continue in this dystopian world where eventually just 4 or 5 different entities, whether they're human or corporate, will run the world, whether they're technology companies, banks, or huge corporations, or orange politicians, right? That's one. Two is that we'll split into power blocks, each with its own internet, which won't talk with each other.
Hmm.
And there'll just be ongoing underworld cyber warfare for decades and decades and decades, which will drive us all into, again, some type of homogenous dystopian, horrible existence. And the third is that there will be a consciousness revolution, a soft revolution, where billions of people will just stand up and go, no, not in my name. I've always said that if astrology were taught in schools, within 2 generations, we'd see an end to warfare and violence, misogyny and racism. And I'm now getting astrology out into the world big time. And a number of my students are doing the same because this is it.
Yeah.
I've got grandchildren. I want them to be a good planet to live in.
Yeah.
If we don't do this now, we won't in the future. This is not a practice or a drill. This is the time we've been waiting for. And it's all going to be resolved one way or another. The next 50 to 500 years, we're going to be able to establish the game plan for this by the end of 2028 at the latest. And the actual nexus point is the period of February 26 through to about May, June 26.
Hmm.
That's the actual trigger points. Now, it is going to get messy. It is going to get messy because the dinosaurs, whether they're the politicians, the priests, or the corporates, aren't going to want to let go of their 2 to 10,000 years of dominator culture.
Right.
But it's ending.
Right.
And there's a rebirth of consciousness happening where everyone becomes more and more responsible for their own feelings, thoughts. And that means an end to guilt, an end to shame, and a willingness to take responsibility for ourselves and not look to other people to solve our problems for us or to believe in God, or believe in the president, or believe in the health service, or whatever.
Mhm.
It's down to us. Um, but a lot of people don't want to hear this because they've got a nice lifestyles. They've got their 2.2 kids and their mortgage and their car, and they're happy. I think they're happy. It's the
Right.
matrix in want of another way.
Right.
But if we don't change now, the future's screwed.
Well, and I don't disagree with anything you said, and I think my community, and I don't know, like, I don't get enough feedback from my listeners to completely know where they are with this, but what I'm seeing in my community is just paralyzing fear. And that fear to me seems to be a barrier to the invitation that we're being given right now to level up and upgrade consciousness. And I'm also hearing an upgrade to maturity, right? I literally, like right before this, did training on accountability and was talking about organizations could be run using accountability as a practice of love. Accountability doesn't have to be punishment just because it's been punishment for however long in a patriarchal society. That doesn't mean that's how we have to continue to use it. And
Mm,
I'm trying to get my people, therapists and whatnot, to be able to use use these powers for good instead of oppression and
yes,
evil.
absolutely. Absolutely. I don't have a problem with people, for example, making a profit at their work. What I have a problem with is the insane stupidity of making 1,000% profit more than.
Right.
I'm really not a communist. I'm not political. I'm a green at heart. But if we were to sort of limit the pay of the top executives, the top politicians, the top generals, the CEOs to 10 times the amount that the office cleaner gets, that'd be a good step in the right direction.
Right.
So at the moment they're getting 1,000 times that. And
Right.
that's insane.
Right.
It creates greed. And
Right.
greed and its affiliates, power and control, but greed is the root of it all. And there you come to religion. As you may know, I'm doing this documentary on the history of Western astrology, which I want to
Can't
get
wait to see
released
it.
damn quick. I want to get it out quickly. And I've been exploring the real roots of astrology going back many thousands of years. And when you go back to a time before established societies, where tribes were getting together, the earliest record we have of stellar observation comes from anywhere from 25 to 50,000 years ago, where people were carving tusks or rocks with lunar calendars or marking the solstices and equinoxes. And from these tribal observations, you get certain tribes would form priesthoods who would mark the equinoxes and the solstices. And they become priests who are responsible for marking these times. This was the start of religion, of
Mhm.
people going, I'm better than you because I know when the right time is to do things. And it was predominantly men. I'm not suggesting we should have a matriarchal world. I am suggesting that the end of the patriarchy and a much greater degree of equality is the only option. And here, when I was a kid, 1 in 100 people had cancer. There was no diabetes or very little. There was no neurodivergent diagnoses. 30 years ago, no one had heard of ADHD, ADD, autism, bipolar. These are recent labels. Now, they've been there, they've just not been diagnosed.
Right.
But the escalation of these in the last 2 or 3 decades is way out of kilter, way out of proportion. And then the amount of neurodivergent youth we have now, I put down the vast majority of neurodiversity and modern illnesses down to one major factor, and that is processed food. There was no processed food when I was a kid. We were just living
Right.
out the garden.
Right.
The first processed food came in the early mid 60s when we started getting processed desserts. And I think processed food is the single biggest thing that's complicit in the dysfunctionality of our bodies in the last 60 years. But I'm old. I'm 70. I can say this. Most people don't want to hear this. They don't want to give up their sugar and their donuts and their Coca-Cola, even though it's killing them.
Yeah,
So,
and I do just wanna say, say because I know people can get really sensitive around not having the neurology honored as part of whatever neurodivergence. And I'll just say for listeners, I have a good friend who specializes in this, who explained neurodivergence to me in a way that I've never heard before, and it made everything make sense to me. And I can't repeat it back because I'm not that smart in this area, but I just want to say, like, stay tuned. We will unpack neurodivergence in a way that I think is a bit more helpful than the way it's, again, like, the TikTokification of
hmm,
ADHD and autism and all of that stuff is, I believe, a problem, and I don't yeah, there's a lot, I think, that's contributed to whatever it is that we're seeing right now,
yeah, there are
and
there
that's
are
not to
definite
diminish, right, people that
yeah,
do have these disorders. Mhm,
there are definite signatures from an
mhm.
astrological perspective
Interesting.
that show where the capacity for neurodiversity is much stronger than normal. But that doesn't mean that
Mm.
everybody with those signatures become neurodivergent.
Right, right.
At the end of the day, the planets impel, they don't compel. There is an element of choice. Um, a lot of it is further reinforced by the breakdown of the nuclear family paradigm, which was also something that was imposed upon us by the religious control freaks for
Mhm.
millennia. Um, Humanity's at the state where all the old patterns are breaking down.
Right,
And the old has to die before the new can't come in if it's still got to negotiate old baggage.
right.
So we're entering a really uncertain future.
Yeah.
But there's two things that I draw confidence and hope from. Firstly, there has never been a time in the history of this planet where the responsibility for the evolution of a species has been placed on the species itself, us.
Say that again.
The responsibility for the evolution of a species has been placed on the species itself. This is the first time it's ever happened.
Wow.
Every other time has been a dominant species, whether it's a virus, bacteria, dinosaur, something else has either wiped it out or accelerated it.
Mm,
There is no salvation. There are no ETs coming to save us. There is no God that's going to intervene and take the chosen few.
right.
The future of our planet is and ourselves is down to us. Also, there's never been a species on this planet that has the ability to take the piss out of themselves as much as humanity. Our capacity for laughter, humor,
Mhm.
optimism, and dare I say it, hope is unparalleled in any other species that's ever existed on this planet. We are fundamental. Terence McKenna put it best. He said, human history represents such a radical break to the systems of biological organization that preceded it that it must be some type of attractor or dwell point that lies ahead in the temporal dimensions that's pulling us forward. There's a magnet accelerating our consciousness in the future, pulling us forward to this nexus point of transcendence and upgrade into a much more enhanced conscious field where we retain identity, individuality, but we all become naturally much more intuitive, sensitive to the point where no one could come into a room with a weapon or harboring malice without everyone going, them, and
Yeah.
just know it.
Yeah.
And this will see an end to the warfare and the greed for power because the alternative is that we wipe ourselves out and there'll be another massive, probably a pandemic combined with some type of AI interface. So it'll be a weaponization of AI. Now, I use AI all the time in my work now. I
Mhm.
see it as a very positive influence.
Mhm.
It's not taking over my work, but it's helping me become better at what I do.
Yeah, same.
So I don't have a problem with this. I'm just scared of the inevitability of a few fanatics weaponizing it. the less people go to church, the less people go to the mosques or the synagogues or the churches, the more religion fades, but those remaining become more fanatical. And there's always going to be the zealots. And that's what really worries me. But I remain hopeful.
Yeah. Well, and my question sort of goes back to the idea of the North Node and sort of why you are here in this lifetime. I continue to remind myself when I'm feeling overburdened by this time and just
Yes.
existing, because I keep saying existing is hard right now. Just being in this world with the anxiety and the fear and the pain and the anguish is so challenging. But I try, and I don't know, I don't have conscious awareness of why I chose to be here in this body, in this lifetime, but I have to believe, like, my belief system leads me to think there's a reason that I am here right now, and I have a gift that I get to bring, that I want to bring forth into the world at this time, and that's how I make sense of it for myself. But I'd be curious what you have to say to other listeners who might also be struggling to make sense of why they are in this mess right now.
I totally agree with you. I would remind us all that we volunteered for this. And that is, once you get that, then everything else will slot into place. You did volunteer for this mission.
And a lot of people don't wanna hear that, you're right.
You're right. I don't want to admit that because what part of the deal is that as soon as you get here, you forget why you volunteered and spend the rest of your life remembering it.
Right.
Look, it's a choice. It's a choice. We all have free will. I'm a big believer in free will. If you want, you can continue eating the processed food and taking the antidepressants and watching your Netflix. And if it makes you happy, fine. Or you can struggle to find meaning and hope. Everyone has understanding, but meaning is a much deeper thing. Why are you here? Why? We're so different from anything that's ever happened before. What is the purpose of existence? Why are we on planet? Are we just some s- statistical biological anomaly? No. We would not have been able to develop as rapidly and exponentially as we have in the last 50 years if it was a random thing. The 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 escalation is due to hit prime vertical. So the graph either collapses in upon itself and we go back to where we were 12,500 years ago, go back to being right brained and start again, or we go beyond the parameters of the graph, which means expanding consciousness.
Mhm.
And yeah, give me that every time.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating time to be alive.
I literally keep saying that. And I will say, for those of us who both love Netflix and need our antidepressants, you don't have to choose. Like, I am watching Netflix a lot of the time, and I take my 5 milligrams of Lexapro, but I am deeply invested in finding meaning in understanding the human condition for myself and for others.
I watch Netflix a lot. I watch cyberpunk and sci-fi because that's my
Okay.
genre. But I don't take antidepressants. I just take psilocybin once or twice a year.
Mhm.
Microdose.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
not illegal in my country.
Oh, it's not. Oh, that's yeah. We're well, we were working on that, but who fucking knows now? Yeah.
So um, to me, it's a consciousness enhancer.
Yeah. Yeah. I microdosed for a while and then my source went
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I've been struggling with right now is it sounds like you, well, I'll just give you a reflection if that's okay. You have a great connection with your personal power that I think has probably served you very well in your life. I also have a great deal of connection to my personal power, and I'm curious how much that connection gives us more confidence in ourselves or something to be able to more easily look towards the future and go, "I can do that." Because what I'm bumping up against with my community is I'm ready to build the future. I am with you, and I have decided I am moving to a higher consciousness. I'm taking everybody with me who's willing to go. And what I'm getting back is you're spiritual bypassing, or you are downplaying the experience of marginalized identities, or you're doing this or you're doing that. I'm getting a lot of fear. And what it's forcing me to look at right now is I can be preparing for the future. I can be saying these things to my audience, and I have to remember that the fear is necessary too, as long as we don't get stuck there.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I differentiate between human beings and humans being.
Yes.
One is conscious, one is not.
Yes.
That doesn't make one better than the other. You're right. We have to
Yes.
take everyone with us. We can't say we're better than anyone else. There is no
Yeah.
better or worse.
Right.
Everyone has to come together,
Right.
and it will happen because there is no other option. That's why I feel that the power grabs that are ongoing. You talk about me being powerful. I don't see myself as powerful. I see myself as power filled.
Mhm.
Power flows through me. I'm an agent of it,
Yep.
but it's not mine. I don't want to own power. I see what happens to people who become powerful. They become corrupt. I don't want to do
Don't
that.
they don't
No,
have to be. They don't have to be. I'm part of this organization, Right Use of Power Institute, and we have a very non-dominant culture way of viewing power. But what you're saying is makes a lot of sense. We don't have to use power for
no.
evil. Yeah,
It's not about power over. It's about power in, power
and power
with.
with. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's why I say power filled rather than powerful.
Yep. I dig it.
And I know it's semantics,
But it's
but
important.
it's important,
Yeah.
and everyone can be their own shaman. It's
Yes.
like, on the one hand, because I've been working with what I call pattern recognition for nearly 50 years, I can look at a chart and go, "Boom, that." And people go, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." I'm going, "No, it's just experience and pattern recognition. I've been doing it a long time, so I'm good at it."
Mhm.
But then I'll go outside my front door and walk 100 yards into the countryside, and at night, and I'll look up into the sky and I go, "All right, there's Mars, there's Jupiter. Ah, so they're square each other at the moment." And I'm actually seeing it in the sky, not just
Mhm.
on a computer screen. And then I can go out there and I can howl. And that
Mm.
we all have intuition, but intuition is a human construct. We live in a primal world where we live in an animal body. So, and that body has instinct as well as intuition. And we tend to neglect the instinct in favor of the intuition. So I will go and
Yes.
howl or bury my fingers in the earth or walk through the forest at night in the dark on my own, feeling the fear, but doing it because I want to engage with instinct as much as with intuition because I feel more integrated by doing so. And I feel it's all our natural state. We've just been conditioned out of it.
Yeah.
So none of us are better or worse than the other. It's just about more and more integration and assimilation, leading to a greater holistic way of expressing myself and being in the world.
Mhm.
And it's not rocket science. All you have to do is just recognize that fear is a natural part of life, but it's something to work with, to flow with, and to integrate. You can't just get rid of fear.
Right.
It's always going to come back. But if you accept it and give it a say, okay, got a nice little dungeon at the corner of my spirit being where you can fester away to your heart's content, and even under carefully controlled circumstances, come out to play. At which point the fear will go, "Hey, I'm loved. I've got a place," and it
Right.
becomes part of the team. It's the fight or flight thing. This is normal to me, but unfortunately, but that's I'm an astrologer. I've the more I see these patterns in other people, the more I can psychoanalyze myself and realize that, okay, how have I dealt with this issue? But that's with any type of therapeutic tool. The more experienced you become, the more you recognize these same patterns in yourself, you can evaluate how you've dealt with them and then pass that on to your clients.
That
So,
is our problem. So I really strongly feel that the therapy field is at a crisis point itself, and if we don't evolve what it means to be a psychotherapist, then this profession is gonna go away because we
Yes.
lost along the way that we all needed to be in our own analysis. We all needed to be doing our own work. And that's why I have this podcast, is because we absolutely need to be doing this work on ourselves if we are going to teach other people how to do it for
Exactly, Sarah,
themselves.
exactly. That is why I have such a problem with people who describe themselves as healers. I just wanna reach for the custard pie when someone says to me, "I'm a healer." I am not a healer. I am a catalyst.
Mhm,
I can help people empower themselves
mhm,
to become better humans. And then by them becoming empowered, they go then out into their world and empower others to become empowered. Then the world becomes a better place. But if you're
precisely.
a healer, you heal people, they just get addicted to you. Then you can't get rid of them. And they put you on a pedestal. And you might as well be a president or a dictator if you're going to be a healer. I'm being cruel towards healers here, I know. Maybe I need to backtrack on that a little bit,
Well,
but
I
you get the
mean,
point.
it's and I think another thing that's sort of interesting about this invitation to evolution is we've experienced this several times in this conversation. You and I really have a lot of the same values, but we just talk about them in different ways.
Yes.
Words mean different things to different people, and I don't think we've been honest enough about that because you say, I hate healers, and I'm like, I think everyone's a healer, and it's because I conceptualize healing as it's moving through you and supporting someone to heal themselves. It's just because I define it that way, and it isn't bad or wrong. It's just it's
Okay, I get that,
you know
but
what I mean?
I would describe the same thing as becoming more self-empowered to become a more
Right,
holistic person.
right.
But then holism, the word holos comes from the Greek for health, and
Mm,
health is to heal. So,
mhm.
yeah, it's again, semantics, different words, same core
Mhm.
root.
And this is the
Um,
nuance that we're being invited to begin like, in order to evolve, we're gonna have to be better at sitting with 2 opposites being true at the same time, and I think this is part of the language thing that we need to get we need to get more comfortable breaking these things down, and yes, it's semantics, but also like we said before, it's fucking important that we really
I
talk about this.
I've really come to terms with my dark side, right? And I've
Yes,
allowed him
yes.
to come out, and as a result, I've formed an alter ego. I have what I call an evil twin brother, right? It's me, but it's my other personality. He's called the
Mhm.
caustic astrologer, right?
Mm.
And he'll go up on stage in front of groups of people and just trash them and insult them completely by their sun sign or their moon sign. Especially if they're a bunch of drunks, because it's so much fun getting people to laugh at themselves. I'll
Mhm.
stand up in front of a bunch of people and I go, right, you're all losers. But let's have a look at the individuals. Let's start with the most boring sign of the zodiac. And every one of them's going, "Oh, please don't say me. Please don't say me." And then I'll go, "Taurus, you're up."
I
And
was
you
like,
see,
"I know you're not talking about Aquarius."
Aquarians aren't boring, no. But if you want to wind up an Aquarius, you just take away their crystals. I tell them that they're secretly robots from Sirius C, that they don't have feelings and emotions, and then arrange for them to phone you up 13 times a day to tell you their exact plans and movements. Then they hate you for the rest of their lives.
I love it.
So if you want to wind up a Virgo, you just stand next to them on a crowded subway train and just waft your underarm smell at them. Or break into their bathroom when they're not there and move everything half an inch to the left.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Virgo
No,
North Node, feel that very strongly. Well, we're coming to the end of our time. Also, I just wanted to say I'll have to send you there's a comedian who really roasts the signs, and it's so funny the way he does it. I'll have to send you
please do.
his
Please.
Instagram handle because it's like what you're saying, and it's just hysterical. Um, this has been wonderful. I am super excited for your documentary. Do you have a sense of when that's gonna come out?
Episode 0, The Taster, is ready to go. episode 1 is only about 30% ready to go, but episode 2, 3, and 4 are 75, 80% ready to go. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're still in production, not nowhere near post-production yet. But we hope to release at least the first 2 episodes before the end of this year. The first one we'll be putting out free of charge to everyone. Um, it's taken my life savings to do
Oh,
this.
I can only imagine.
But, this is my mission. This is what I want to do. This is really what I want to do. It's going to bring the history of astrology and the academic pursuit of that history into a much vaster focus. It's not going to be seen as just sun sign columns anymore.
Right.
It's going to be seen as something that's been academically researched for tens of thousands of years. And I appreciate we're running to the end of our time now, but seriously, astrologos, the knowledge of the stars. We've always looked at the stars. We've always looked up for hope, whether we appreciate it as astrology or not. Where would we be without being able to look at the stars and see the moon and the eclipses? It's what empowers us. It gives us a sense of meaning and a search for meaning. I hope that never goes away.
Same. Same. Well, where is your website so people can find your documentaries
Oh,
when they
I'm
come?
I'm I'm about to take them all down because I'm rebuilding. I'm rebranding everything. At the moment, yes, you can find a couple of websites, stevejudd.com and astrobabbleproductions.com, but they're going to be gone within a few months, and there'll be new ones
Mhm.
by the end of the year. Same handles.
Okay.
Much better is um, at Steve Judd Astrology on Instagram and
Okay.
Steve Judd Astrology on YouTube.
Wonderful.
That's where I do most of my work
Wonderful.
at the moment.
Thank you for speaking the truth when the truth is hard to hear right now. You have my heart with that mission.
I'm aware I've been a little bit more caustic and unsubtle than I normally am in these interviews, but I hope I've not offended too many people. I'm a Cancerian at heart. I'm shy, gentle, and insecure, honest.
No, I believe that. Do you know the Enneagram at all?
I know of it. Yes, I've not studied it in depth.
Yeah, yeah. My guess would be you're probably an Enneagram 8, which is all about projecting strength, but the 8 like really loves their people so fiercely and is a teddy bear on the inside. That would be my guess.
That fits. That feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And I'm sure we'll speak again at some stage in the future.
I sure hope so.
All right, Sarah. Be well.